Imagine a world where every dawn brings a different kind of awakening. In one corner, a king stirs beneath layers of velvet and fur, his every whim a command that shapes the realm. In another, a peasant rises from a bed of straw, his hands already aching from yesterday's toil, his mind racing with the day's endless tasks. Tonight we journey into their worlds, not through grand battles or royal edicts, but through the quiet, relentless rhythm of their daily lives. This is a tale of two souls bound by the same earth but divided by fate, each playing their part in a dance as old as time itself. So if you're ready to step back into the shadows of history, to feel the weight of a crown and the burden of a plow, then join me. Let the world outside fade, and let's walk together through a day in the life of a king and a peasant. You stir from a sleep that's more exhaustion than rest, your body protesting with every movement. Your back throbs, a relentless ache like a heavy stone pressing into your spine. The mattress beneath you is a sorry thing, once stuffed with straw, now mostly mold and dust. Each shift sends a cloud of musty air into the room, a reminder of years without change. You share this bed with your wife, your two children, and a small, scurrying creature. Perhaps a rat, perhaps a squirrel fallen on hard times. Its warmth is a small comfort in the chill. Above, the roof weeps, despite your best efforts to patch it with clay last autumn. A steady drip falls into a tin bowl, each plink a mocking reminder of time's passage. The fire that glowed last night is now just a memory, leaving behind cold ashes and a lingering scent of smoke. Your breath hangs in the air, visible in the dim light, a ghostly testament to the cold that seeps into your bones. Your home offers a little comfort. There's no chimney, only a crude hole in the roof that struggles to let out the smoke while welcoming in the rain. Both tasks it performs with equal incompetence. Outside, a groan breaks the silence. Perhaps the wind, perhaps the pigs, perhaps your neighbor Edric, already at work splitting wood. You can't be sure, and it doesn't matter. You rise slowly, mindful not to upset the bowl of water by your bed. It's half frozen, a thin layer of ice crusting its surface. You crack it with your fingers and splash the frigid water on your face. The sting is sharp, but it jolts you awake. You reach for your tunic, the same one you've worn for days, weeks, months. It's coarse, carrying the scent of smoke and earth, patched so often that the repairs have their own repairs. A rope serves as your belt since the old one snapped last year. Your bare feet meet the dirt floor. Shoes are a luxury long since abandoned. Once you had a pair, but they wore through, and now even in winter you go without. At least there's no fear of theft. Your home is a single room, no divisions, just a hearth at the center, tools on the wall, and tattered cloth covering the windows against the wind. If fortune smiles, there's a bench, a stool, perhaps an iron pot. Privacy is a dream. You live in close quarters with your family and sometimes your animals. A goat might huddle by the door for warmth, chickens pecking at the floor for stray grains. Your wife lies still, perhaps asleep, perhaps feigning it after another night tending to the baby. The child burns with a fever that refuses to break. You've tried all you know: garlic, prayers, a scrap of blessed cloth tied to her wrist. Nothing seems to help. You say nothing, words won't change it. Outside, your oldest son, just 10, coughs as he tends the fire pit. He works with the determination of a man, for there's no other choice. You take a piece of bread from what passes for a table, a rough board on uneven stumps. The bread is stale, hard as stone. You dip it in the leftover water, hoping to soften it, but it remains unyielding. Still you chew, because you must. Your bread is a humble thing, cobbled together from barley or rye, stretched with whatever you could find. Peas, ground to corns, even sawdust when times were lean. Baked perhaps once a week, it hardens by the fire, growing tougher with each passing day. Your eyes drift to the small wooden icon on the wall, a rough carving of a saint whose name escapes you. You murmur a prayer or something like it, the words more rhythm than meaning. Latin is a mystery to you, but the sound alone feels holy, and maybe that's sufficient. Silence follows, broken only by the crow of a rooster. Not yours, for you can't afford such a luxury, but Edric's, its call carrying a note of smugness. You stretch, your back cracking in protest, a familiar morning melody. You draw a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of damp straw, ash, and the musk of unwashed wool. The cold seeps into your bones, a companion you've known too long. It's time to begin the day. Each day starts the same, with wood. Without it, there's no fire, no warmth, no way to cook or to rid your clothes of the lice that plague them. You take up your dull hatchet and make your way to the woodpile. The Lord's forest is off limits. Cutting trees is forbidden, and even collecting fallen branches is technically against the rules. But necessity overrides law, and you proceed, hoping the steward's gaze is elsewhere. The mud grips your feet, never truly dry in winter, the paths mere ruts carved by countless steps, hooves and wheels. You slip, biting back a curse to avoid waking the baby. Later there will be more tasks, checking the thatch, mending the fence, feeding the pig, tending your small plot. Perhaps you'll visit the village oven if there's something to bake. But first you exchange a nod with your neighbor, his grunt a wordless acknowledgement. You both know this day by heart. It's a script you've followed countless times. The king awakens at his leisure, not roused by discomfort or duty, but by the simple privilege of power. His bed is a monument to luxury, vast and swathed in velvet, lined with the softest furs. The sheets are of the finest imported linen, so delicate they barely rustle as he moves. Beneath him, a mattress stuffed with goose down, feathers plucked by hand from birds raised solely for this purpose. He lingers with his eyes closed, for there's no urgency. The room is already warm, courtesy of a fire tended through the night by a servant whose sole task is to ensure the flames never die. The logs are from the royal forest, perhaps birch or cedar, their burning scent a subtle sweetness in the air. A soft knock, then another, and the door opens with practiced quiet. A valet enters, bearing a pitcher of warm water, followed by another with a robe warmed by the fire, a third with a towel, a fourth with slippers. Each bows in turn, their movements synchronized like the ticking of a clock. This is the morning ritual, a dance of servitude and protocol that underscores the king's exalted status. He does not rise unaided. He is attended, dressed, and cared for, every action a reminder of his place atop the social order. A servant draws back the curtains, and sunlight streams through stained glass, casting hues of blue and red across the polished stone floor. The king yawns, swings his legs over the side, but his feet never touch the ground. Slippers are placed before him, the robe draped across his shoulders. He lifts not a finger. At the wash basin, the water is warm, scented with rose oil, and a towel is presented as he dries his face. He catches his reflection in a silver mirror, noting his pallor with mild concern. Seated, he is groomed, beard trimmed, hair combed, hands soothed with balm, while his attire is laid out. A doublet embroidered with gold, hose of deep green, a cloak lined with ermine. These are not mere clothes, but emblems of his station, dyed with costly pigments like woad and saffron, each color a declaration of wealth and authority. The aroma of breakfast wafts through the air, fresh bread, honeyed figs, sausages, eggs, a blend of sweet and savory delights. It will be served in the solar by a roaring fire, beneath a tapestry depicting his grandfather's triumph over a boar. As he dines, he might be serenaded by poetry, music, or scripture, or perhaps receive visitors, though the day's business can wait, unless war or an unexpected bishop demands otherwise. A knock at the door brings the steward with the morning's news, tidings from the border, a letter from the bishop, a noble's petition, a report on the grain stores. The king dismisses it with a wave. Such matters can linger. He settles into the warmth, listening to a lute's gentle melody, the distant bells marking the hour with a soft, untroubled chime. The world outside is a distant concern, not yet piercing the cocoon of his privilege. He sips his wine, savoring the moment. Breakfast can wait. For you, breakfast is not a meal, but a brief respite, a stolen moment between the grind of survival and the demands of the day. There's no ceremony, no choice, just a necessity to fuel the body for what's to come. The hearth is dim, the fire reluctant, still smoldering from the night before. You coax it back to life with a stick and a gentle breath, watching as your exhalation turns to mist in the chill air. With luck and dry kindling, a flame flickers to life, and you nurture it until it's strong enough to heat the clay pot perched precariously on a stone. Your hands linger near the warmth, craving the heat that the night stole away. There's no proper table, only a rough plank balanced on stumps, scarred from years of use. You take a wooden bowl from the shelf, misshapen and chipped, and spoon in what passes for porridge. Water, ground barley or oats, a dash of salt if you're fortunate. There's no milk. Your cow, if you ever had one, is long gone, and the village dairy serves the Lord first. The porridge is thick, gray, and lumpy, with husks that crunch unpleasantly. You tear a piece from the dark, heavy bread, made from barley, rye, and whatever else could be milled. Wheat is for the rich, white bread a distant dream. This loaf is old and tough, so you dunk it in the porridge to soften it, chewing slowly, knowing there's nothing else. Your children huddle nearby, eyes still heavy with sleep, one eating eagerly, the other staring blankly into the bowl. You urge them to eat slowly, not because there's more, but to make the little they have last longer. Your wife sips weak ale from a cracked cup, bitter and lukewarm, but safer than the stream's water, which has claimed too many lives. Boiling water is a luxury of fuel you can't always afford, so ale it is, even at dawn. On better days, there might be an onion or leek, boiled with a scrap of fat, but today there's nothing. The pig was slaughtered weeks ago, its meat salted and stored, most of it owed to the Lord. You hear Edric coughing outside, already at work, and you can't help but envy his vigor. Or perhaps just his chickens, for he has 3 and you have none. A knock at the door reveals a child, face smudged with mud, asking for herbs for her sick sister. You have none, but your wife finds something, dried nettles perhaps, and trades it for half a piece of bread. The sun rises, thawing the frost on the window, and you stand, stretching your aching back, wiping your hands on your tunic. The bowl returns to the shelf, the pot set aside for later. That was breakfast. Now the day truly begins. Meanwhile, in a palace far removed from your hut, breakfast unfolds as a spectacle of abundance. The king stirs in sheets of silk, the air around him perfumed with the sweet smoke of a fire that burns eternally. A steward announces the meal, though the rich aromas have already heralded its arrival. He enters the solar, a room bathed in sunlight, its walls adorned with vibrant murals, its floor softened by intricate rugs from distant lands. The table is a masterpiece. Silver platters gleam, napkins are folded with precision, bowls of carved wood shine with enamel, and knives are so polished they mirror the faces of those who wield them. Every dish is tasted first by a taster, for the shadow of poison lurks in the halls of power. At the center, a loaf of manchet bread, soft and white, made from wheat so finely sifted it seems otherworldly, a luxury reserved for the elite. Beside it, poached eggs sprinkled with fresh herbs, sausages of venison and wild boar, their flavors deepened by cures and smokes unknown to you. Figs brought from Iberia or the Holy Land at great expense lie open, their vibrant insides a feast for the eyes. Honeycombs drip onto cheese, creamy and rich, from sheep grazing on pastures the king will never visit. He eats at a leisurely pace, not out of hunger, but to indulge in the act itself. A goblet of mead tinged with gold and scented with herbs sits untouched. A servant stands ready with watered wine should his taste shift. This meal is as much a performance as it is sustenance, with attendants poised in silence, musicians weaving a gentle melody, and the steward reciting the day's affairs, petitions, border disputes, supply issues. The king half listens, savoring a slice of cinnamon poached pear, its sweetness fleeting and unremarkable. He nibbles at the bread, tastes a bit of ham, toys with a pastry of apples and cherries. When he's done, a mere gesture clears the table. A towel is presented for his hands, though he's touched nothing directly. He leans back, watching motes of dust dance in the light, as servants retreat with practiced grace. His greyhound, sleek and pampered, nuzzles his slipper, and he strokes its head absent-mindedly. Breakfast ends not from satiety, but from his decree. You reach for your tunic, not out of choice, but out of necessity. It's all you possess. In this world, a peasant's wardrobe is a single garment, perhaps two if fortune smiles, one for labor, one for rest, though often they are one and the same. Yours is a rough-spun wool tunic, its fibers so coarse they threaten to rub your skin raw. Once a pale brown, it has been darkened by years of toil, smoke, and sweat into a nondescript shade of earth and age. The sleeves tell their own stories, one frayed at the cuff, the other mended with a scrap from your wife's old dress. No one notices, no one cares. Beneath it, on better days, you might wear a linen smock, but today is not such a day. It tore last week while you hauled timber, a gaping wound across the fabric that you haven't had time to stitch. Besides, linen offers little warmth against the biting cold, even if it is kinder to the skin. You pull on your hose, not the fine stockings of the nobility, but crude woolen tubes that sag at the ankles and are held up by sheer determination. One has a hole at the heel, a repair you've postponed in favor of more pressing survival. Shoes are a luxury. If you have them, they are worn leather with laces of twine, soles more whole than hide. Many go barefoot, especially in summer, but in winter you might wrap your feet in cloth or simply tread carefully. Today you step into wooden clogs, rough and unyielding, but a barrier against the frost. Your belt is a rope, the leather one having snapped the year your youngest was born. The rope suits you better, a symbol of your station, looped and scratchy around your waist. There are no buttons or zippers. Such things are dreams of the future. Your clothes are secured with knots or wooden toggles or left to hang loose. The neck of your tunic gapes from wear, and your wife ties it shut with twine, her face as somber as yours. There's no joy in dressing when each thread whispers of poverty. Your clothes hang from nails or are folded in a chest if you're lucky enough to have one. Lice and fleas are your constant companions. You flick one from your sleeve without a second glance. Laws dictate what you can wear, but you couldn't afford forbidden colors or fabrics even if you wished. Purple, scarlet, gold. These are for others, not for you. Your wife wears a similar garb, a woolen kirtle tied at the waist, her head wrapped in a wimple for warmth and modesty, sleeves rolled up as she works. Your children are clad in hand-me-downs, so patched they look like patchwork dolls, and the baby is swaddled in rags. Holes mended with more rags in an endless cycle. Dressing is not a ritual of readiness, but a layering of hardship, a thin shield against a world that cares little for your comfort. Yet you dress because to face the day naked would be to admit defeat. Long before the king stirs, his attire is prepared, each piece chosen with care, inspected for perfection, and warmed by the fire so that no chill touches his skin. His dressing begins with the finest linens, soft, bleached white undergarments woven from flax, a luxury only the nobility can afford. The peasants who grow the flax will never know such softness. First, a shirt, long-sleeved and weightless, carrying the faint scent of lavender from the dried flowers tucked among its folds by nameless servants. Then hose of snug wool, dyed a deep blue, a color as costly as it is rare, extracted from woad and reserved for the elite. Over these, a doublet, padded and tailored, fastened with buttons of bone or horn, each a small work of art. Unlike the peasant, whose clothes are held together by necessity, the king's buttons are a statement of status, sewn into the very fabric of his superiority. His cloak is of velvet, a rich burgundy, lined with ermine, draping regally from his shoulders, its hem brushing the floor. A servant adjusts it to avoid even a speck of dust. On his feet, boots of supple leather, crafted to fit him perfectly, untouched by the mud of the world outside. A silk sash encircles his waist, embroidered with his house's emblem, the fabric having journeyed from the east through perilous trade routes, its cost immense, its presence effortless. Jewelry adorns him, a ring, a brooch, a clasp with semi-precious stones, not for vanity, but as symbols of his sanctified status. As he is dressed, attendants murmur about the day's events, the weather, the arrival of dignitaries, but he pays little heed, his focus on the ritual at hand. The final touch is a circlet, a subtle crown for the morning, a reminder of his identity. Dressing is not merely about covering the body, it is a ceremony, each layer a testament to his power, each thread a barrier between him and the ordinary world. When he enters the hall, his robes flowing, his hands glittering with rings, his boots immaculate, all who see him know. This is no mere mortal, but a living emblem of authority, clothed in the weight of his own legend. You step outside and the cold hits like a slap, sharp and unforgiving. The door creaks on tired hinges, and the air stings your nose, your breath clouding before you like a ghost. The sun is barely a smear on the horizon, the world still wrapped in shadow, ascended into heaven. The yard is a frozen mess of ruts and straw, chickens pecking listlessly near the woodpile. One limps and you note it, though you know you won't have time to tend to it. The day stretches before you, a list of obligations as unsteady as the firewood you stack, always teetering, always threatening to collapse. First, the animals. The pig roots through compost, eyeing you with weary suspicion, as if it knows its fate. You refill its trough with scraps, turnip skins, wilted leaves, a spoonful of yesterday's porridge. It eats with more vigor than you'll muster all day. The firewood pile is low again. You grab the axe, its handle worn smooth, its blade dull and nicked. You trudge to the tree line, each step sinking into the frozen mud. You've been harvesting from the same grove all winter, venturing deeper with each trip, each swing of the axe heavier than the last. You gather what you can, broken branches, bark, damp twigs. Everything burns if you're desperate enough. You haul it back, the weight pressing into your shoulders. No cart, no mule, just you. You stack it haphazardly by the door. It won't last the week. Then water. Always water. You walk to the stream with buckets, the water clearer than it should be. A bad sign, fewer fish, fewer frogs. You draw it up, slip on the icy stones, and curse as your knee hits the mud, water sloshing from one bucket. You don't refill it, you just go home. Back at the hut, your wife spins wool by the hearth, her fingers moving with practiced grace. The children watch, huddled close, the baby crying softly. You change into your work tunic, the one with fewer holes, and wrap a cloth around your head. There's work waiting in the Lord's field, always for someone else's benefit. You walk the mile to the manorial land, shoulders hunched, hands tucked in sleeves. Others walk beside you, men you know but don't speak to. Words are a luxury for those with energy to spare. Today's task is muck spreading, the stench overwhelming. You breathe through your mouth, shoveling slowly, spreading dung across frozen soil for a future you won't reap. You don't ask for pay, there is none. This is your feudal duty, corvée labor, owed to the Lord. You'll get a nod, maybe some grain if he's generous. You won't complain. You've seen what happens to those who do. By midday, your hands are raw, your legs tremble. You've relieved yourself behind a tree, wiped with leaves, and eaten your lunch, a crust of bread, a clove of garlic, a slice of dried turnip. You chew slowly, perched on a rock, watching the Lord's reeve ride by, his boots shining while your knees are caked in filth. You finish and return to work. There is always more. The king's duties begin in the great hall, long after servants have arranged it to perfection. Tall windows spill colored light across polished floors, the air fragrant with herbs scattered to mask the scent of too many bodies. A scribe stands ready, the steward approaches with a bow. The first order, a petition from a noble family seeking to build a mill. The king gestures for his advisors to debate. He'll decide when they have tired themselves. He settles into his high-backed chair, sipping wine from a goblet etched with his crest, his robe of thick velvet, his fingers heavy with rings. A clerk reads grievances from the local burghers: taxes too high, roads impassable, bandits in the woods. The king nods occasionally, his mind on lunch. A messenger arrives from the border with news of trouble. The baron is late with levies, peasants refusing to work. Should soldiers be sent? The king raises an eyebrow. Only if the harvest is in, he murmurs. A priest brings a letter from the bishop, concerns about heresy in the south. The king sighs, the Inquisition can handle it. The court jester tells a joke, and the room laughs only after the king smirks. He half listens to a minstrel's ballad, while his steward tallies the cost of the last feast. The numbers are high, no one questions it. Then petitions from commoners, a farmer with a broken fence and a neighbor with aggressive geese, a baker arguing with a brewer over grain. The king waves them away, let the reeves sort it. A hunting party awaits in the afternoon, a welcome escape from the chatter. For now he retreats to review letters, dictating responses while a scribe translates his words into elegance. He's spoken to 30 men, heard 20 grievances, signed 15 scrolls, and decided little. But his presence is enough. He is king, and kings must be seen. One man shovels manure, the other shuffles papers. One earns nothing and owes everything, the other owns everything and earns nothing. Yet both play their roles in a kingdom that demands performance. The peasant labors under the weight of his body, the king labors under the weight of his title. One cannot rest, the other cannot hide. The peasant's duties draw blood, the king's draw ink. You wake already unclean, dirt a constant companion, embedded in your skin, your clothes, your food. You splash your face with gray water from a bucket, the same water used yesterday to rinse a bowl or wash a child's feet. It's cold, tightening your skin, but it doesn't make you cleaner. Soap is a rarity, made from lye and fat, harsh and kept for special occasions. Your wife used the last of it weeks ago, her hands still blistered from the effort. You wipe your hands on your tunic, already stained with ash and pig muck. You smell of sweat, smoke, and wool. So does everyone. Bathing is a luxury, not for lack of desire, but for lack of means. Water must be carried, heated with precious firewood. A full bath happens perhaps twice a year, more in summer, less in winter. You've heard tales of Roman baths, but they seem like myths. You pick at the dirt under your nails, a futile gesture. Your feet are cracked, your knuckles chapped, a rash on your leg that won't heal. The toilet is a pit behind the hut, frozen in winter. You squat beside it like everyone else. Tooth care is a mint sprig if you're lucky, or a cloth with ashes. Most lose their teeth by 40. You feel one wobble, spit blood, and move on. Disease is ever present, boils, fevers, coughs. The village healer offers herbs. The priest speaks of God's will. You say nothing. Your neighbor claimed 6 years without illness, then his foot turned black, and he was gone in 3 days. You dunk your head in the trough, but it doesn't help. You smell of labor, and always will. The king wakes to fragrance. his chambers swept with herbs, thyme, rosemary, lavender, to ward off illness. A servant wipes his face with a cloth dipped in rose water, another tends his hands. His bath is a wooden tub lined with linen, filled with heated water scented with orange blossoms. He bathes when he pleases, sometimes daily, soap from Castile, soft and scented with citrus. His skin is oiled, his hair brushed, his nails trimmed. Cleanliness is not just comfort, it's a symbol of his divinity. His teeth are cleaned with wine-soaked cloth, his breath checked for decay. Illness is a threat, but when he falls sick, he is surrounded by care. Physicians, prayers, leeches. During plague, he retreats to the countryside, closes the gates, and reads of the dead in letters. Cleanliness for him is visible, scented, managed by others. The peasant scrapes mud from his heels, the king scrapes dirt from his nails with ivory. One smells of animals, the other of roses, but both bleed, both scar, both fall to the same plagues. Death cares not for soap. Leisure is a stranger to you. You have pauses, moments when your body aches too much to move, and your mind drifts through boredom and pain. Yet even you find ways to break the monotony, for without them, survival loses its purpose. The simplest joy is talk. Stories by the fire, tales of saints, demons, and long-dead kings, told with wide eyes and long pauses. They don't have to make sense. They just have to distract from hunger. Songs follow, sharp chants with local, often lewd lyrics. You sing while you work, not for fun, but to make time pass. Festivals are rare but cherished. Feast days, saints' days, excuses to stop, drink, dance, and forget the year's wait. At St. Martin's feast, you once saw a pig's head with onion eyes, children dancing, turnips juggled. You drank too much and laughed too hard. Games are simple. Rocks, sticks, imagination. You've chased a goose, bet on log lifting, watched men wrestle in mud for pride. A traveling performer might pass through, a juggler, a puppeteer, a fire swallower. You watched in awe, though you had no coin to give. And there's ale, weak and sour, but it dulls the edge. You sit with neighbors listening to bad jokes, laughing at the effort. Drunkenness is expected, even by the priest on feast days. You've danced barefoot, sung forgotten songs, woken with leaves in your mouth. It's not much, but for a few hours it's enough. For the king, entertainment is a constant, a display of power and taste. Music, sport, hunting, dining, each a stage for his identity as ruler. A minstrel plays in the solar, melodies crafted to soothe or flatter. He listens idly, waves them away when bored. In the gardens, sculpted and serene, he plays chess with a noble, the board of ivory and lapis, the game a test of wit and loyalty. He wins because he must. Afternoons bring the hunt, a theatrical pursuit with hawks, hounds, and horns. The forest clears for him, animals driven into his path. Whether he hits or misses, it's a triumph. Feasts follow, with roasted boar, game birds, and wine. Jesters, acrobats, storytellers perform, their lives hinging on his reaction. He watches plays, listens to books read aloud, asks questions without expecting answers. Entertainment surrounds him, yet he is often bored. The peasant laughs to forget. The king laughs because it's expected. One dances in dirt, the other in gilded halls. Both seek escape, but only one finds it fleetingly. You wake hungry, the stone in your gut a constant companion. Fullness is a distant memory, perhaps from a festival or a wedding. Most days your stomach growls louder as the hours pass. You stir the pot over the hearth, yesterday's pottage thick and brown, ladling a scoop into your bowl, giving the larger share to your eldest. He eats without thanks, like a wary animal. Pottage is your staple, barley, oats, whatever vegetables you have, boiled into a mush. Bread is dark and hard, made from rye or barley, grit from the millstone wearing down your teeth. You drink ale weak and cloudy, safer than water. Meat is rare, a monthly scrap if you're lucky. Hunting is forbidden. Poaching a deer means death. Your pigs are gone, sold after the frost ruined the cellar. Chickens don't lay in winter. Cheese is a summer treat. On holy days, there's more. Bread with onions, roasted goose, apples with honey. You trade leeks for butter, cabbages for fish. Once you found a coin and bought a fig, slicing it for your children. They still speak of it. Your wife cooks, her hands red and cracked, meals more work than reward. You eat in silence, thankful or not, then return to labor. The king eats when he chooses, his meals a theater of power. His food is prepared in vast kitchens, each dish a statement. Bread is white and soft, made from sifted wheat. Meats are roasted, pies layered with pigeon and dates. Spices, nutmeg, ginger, saffron, are worth more than gold. He drinks wine from distant lands, served in jeweled goblets. Fish is always on the table, even whale or beaver tail on fast days. Feasts last hours, each course a spectacle, a castle of pastry, a flaming peacock, a pie of live birds. He eats little, a bite here, a taste there, for the meal is a display, not a necessity. His physicians watch, balancing his humors. After his hands are washed in rosewater, a minstrel plays, and he nods. The meal ends, not from fullness, but from protocol. You wake with a saint's name on your lips, though you're not sure which one. They blur together, their images crude on wood or stone. Religion is not a thought, but a way of life. You cross yourself before eating, mumble prayers at night. The priest speaks Latin, a language of rhythm, not meaning. The church is cold, the priest well-fed. He buries your dead, blesses your fields. When things go wrong, you blame sin, tie herbs, light candles. Superstition and faith are one. Your wife hangs charms, your neighbor buries nails. You carry a bone for luck. Festivals mark the seasons, Michaelmas for harvest, Candlemas for light. You've jumped fires on Midsummer's Eve, whispered to the dark. There's a woman outside the village, an herbalist or witch. She gave you nettles for your child's fever, and it broke. Coincidence or magic, you'll never know. You believe because it keeps you sane. Without it, there's only cold, hunger, death. The king prays too, but his faith is political. He kneels on cushions, holds a gilded psalter, knows the Latin by heart. His rule is divine, his power God-given. He funds monasteries, consults bishops, observes holy days with grandeur. But his belief is pragmatic, a tool for order. He fears omens, wears relics, consults astrologers. Before battle, he fasts, takes communion. When plague strikes, he orders prayers, retreats to safety. He believes, but he does not trust. The church is his ally and rival, a mirror of his power. Both know that if one falls, the other follows. You wake before dawn, not to a rooster, but to your joints cracking. You're a serf, bound to the land, not a slave, but close enough. Your lord owns the earth you till. You muck stalls, collect wood, fix fences. Seasons bring their own torments. Planting in spring, harvesting in summer, preserving in autumn, enduring in winter. You eat barley bread, pottage, ale. Your tools are old, shared, broken. You owe the Lord labor, taxes, tithes. Your wife spins, bakes, tends children. Your children work as soon as they can. There's no rest, no choice. But sometimes there's quiet joy, a straight furrow, a dry roof, a child's smile over eggs. It's not ambition, but it's yours. The king's life is not idle. He wakes to functionaries, his every move observed. He listens to councils, decides disputes, arranges marriages, governs war. He signs decrees, meets bishops, reads chronicles. He must be seen, his health a symbol of stability. Ruling his work, different but relentless. He holds the realm together, a task as heavy as any plow. You feel it first, the shortness of breath, the trembling hands. You hide it, but the pain grows. There's no doctor, only the midwife with her roots, the healer with her broth, the priest with his candle. You confess, receive last rites, try to die with dignity. Your family gathers, quiet and knowing. You're buried behind the church, perhaps with a wooden cross. The priest speaks Latin, and you hope God understands. What's left? A patched roof, a good rake, a son who ties kindling well, maybe a namesake. You're forgotten, but the world you build endures. The king's death is a spectacle. His chamber becomes a stage, clerics and attendants hovering. He's anointed, confesses, clutches a golden crucifix. Scribes record his last words. His body is washed, dressed, perhaps embalmed. His funeral is grand. Priests, candles, choirs, nobles in black. He's buried in a crypt, his tomb carved with verse, his sword beside him. His will is read, his heir named. But the kingdom moves on. Wars break out, and his memory fades. Time forgets him as it does you. In the end, both lie beneath the earth, one in straw, one in silk, but equally still. Legacy is not in stone, but in the echoes of labor. The bread baked, the wall built, the law passed. All things fade, but some endure in silence. The wind blows both names away, but the world they shaped remains.